Now, if you haven't read the Bible first, you might want to road test it. But to road test it, you need to know a couple of things that, well, are so important that if you don't know these things, it will make that road test of the Bible so hard. So hard. My name is Craig and this is Morning Star Quest. This is your journey into the Bible for beginners. Now, there are so many things. Well, actually, there's only a couple of things, or a few things. I'm getting ahead of myself, that you need to know before you read the Bible for the first time, or maybe you've been just dipping your toes in the water a couple of times. But to fully road test the Bible, you've got to get in it. You've got to strap yourself in and you've got to get into the Bible. But there are a few things we need to do before we turn it on and get moving. So the first thing I want to go through is a lot of the times we hunt and we peck and we choose things and we just grab things and sing joyful to the Lord, you righteous. It is fitting for the upright to praise him. Sounds great. But the problem with doing this is that I am doing this for me. Like, what does God want to tell me today? And I open it and let accuser stand at his right hand. Even if that makes sense, it's about me. I am opening this whole Bible just to find out, okay, what is it about me today? But I want to flip that because it's not about you or how we should live. Let me just put a pencil on that one. But the thing is here, there's more to the story. And just hunting and pecking and choosing this verse and that verse, or taking one verse and analysing it and thinking, all right, well, this is what God is saying. But there's a whole Bible. It's not just one verse, it's a whole Bible. And even if you pick out one book, I mean, there are the books like Job or Ecclesiastes and what's the other one? Proverbs. If you read each one by themselves, they could contradict each other, but they don't. They just come at the same problem of life, just from different angles, for different audiences, and kind of getting you a fuller version of what life is all about, instead of giving you a black and white image here and a black and white image there, and they seem to contradict. No, they come at things at different angles, different audiences, different, trying to get at the same thing in different ways. Now, this brings me to the next part, is if you, and I struggle with this for so long, like up into the 80s, 70s, 80s, I just heard the Bible at church from the King James Version. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the King James, because it is such a rich language, but I didn't appreciate it then. And the colour and everything, I just didn't get it, because there was big words and there was concepts and all that sort of thing. Then I tried the New International Version, which was much better, much easier. I kind of got it, and I don't have it here, but I've got oh yeah, it's down there, a study Bible with the NIV. And it did make more sense, but I still felt like there was something I still wanted to understand more, which is a good place to start. It's definitely a good place to start. But then I tried the Message, Now this has gone the other way. This is paraphrasing the Bible, whereas the King James, that is word for word. The NIV is thought for thought. And then I tried to paraphrase with the Message, and, well, it gave me a different viewpoint, but it didn't necessarily give me what I was needing. But the whole point was that I just needed to get into it. It wasn't that I needed the Message. It wasn't that I needed the NIV. It's just that I needed to get into it. And I know that after reading this for the NIV for like 20 years, one problem that I had was that I was dipping into it and then I would spend time without it. And really, if you are test driving something, you've got to get inside it. You've got to push all the buttons, change the gears, turn it on, and then you've got to experience it in motion. Now, one version I did find was the Christian Standard Bible. I bought this for my wife. I wish it was there in the 80s and 90s, because I would have gone with this. Because the biggest thing I have found is that the language, I'm no longer searching for what does that mean? How does this, what's that word or this concept? The only things I am searching for now is just trying to understand more about God, more about Jesus. Trying to get something from a different angle or a concept or whatever. But it's not about the language anymore. And don't get me wrong, I love the King James Version because it is such rich and flavoursome and colourful. And there is definitely a point for that. And now that I've read this, probably the King James would be great to get that next level or a different viewpoint. But there is one thing that I find, there is one thing that people told me back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, or maybe the 90s more so. 70s was primary school, so who knows what I was thinking. But like during the 90s, people would say, this is not history, it's his story. It's Jesus's story. And I thought, yeah, I get that. New Testament, it's all about Jesus. But I didn't get the Old Testament. Now, oh my goodness, the Old Testament is just a foreshadow of Jesus. It is his story. Everything. There is not one thing that is written down in the Old Testament that isn't trying to either allude to Jesus or specifically foreshadow Jesus or show man's attempt to try and be Jesus and failing miserably. I would love to find a part of this that of the Old Testament that isn't about that. If you can find that, I would love to know. But I don't think there is. Everything is his story. And if you read this whole book from cover to cover, I mean, you can read you can read the New Testament first if you want. That's okay. Just start. And probably that's the best way to do it. Start with the New Testament and then go back to the Old and kind of say, well, where is those foreshadows? How does this foreshadow Jesus in any way, shape or form? Because everything is about him. And also, if you click, and also I want to go through a road test of each version of the Bible or each translation of the Bible. They are all the same story, but just from different viewpoints, different language used for different audiences. And I want to go through that here. And if it's not here yet, it will be. So subscribe, and I'll catch you. Go do something awesome for God, and I'll catch you in the next one.